What's good, everybody, man? This is your guy Manny, and this is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. Once again, we're gonna talk some NFL. It's been some tough times for me. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the love, the support, everybody who's reached out, going through some tough things right now. But we're gonna talk some NFL, football, talk about things that kind of lift my spirit. NBA season is also back as well, but we're gonna focus this particular episode on the NFL. Plenty games. There's going to be a game tonight, and that's going to be the Baltimore Ravens versus the Saints. And I'm excited for that game. But last Thursday night, we had Philly versus Houston. Wasn't a game that I was overly excited for, but at the same time, it was a game. We did see the Eagles come out play well, but the Texans kind of gave them everything that they could give them. I mean, it was a competitive game, back and forth. Davis Mills continues to show signs of he could be the guy, but I'm not sure if he's going to be the guy. I feel the Texans are going to draft a brand new quarterback come the NFL draft, but Dameon Pierce is a dog. Dameon Pierce is that dude, man. He had 27 carries, 139 yards, and he was a guy that I was wrong about. And I think he's their franchise back, even moving forward. Everybody talks about the draft capital. Oh, he wasn't drafted in the first or second round, but he's playing like a first and second round type talent. So shout out to Dameon Pierce. Obviously, Brandon Cooks didn't get traded at the trade deadline. He missed the game. Philip Dorsett and Chris Moore both stepped up with 69 yards and 43 yards respectively, and a score. So, Houston has a lot of pieces to fill. They have multiple first, they have a multiple second in the 23 draft. So it's going to be interesting to see if Houston has a chance to draft a Bijan Robinson. Do they pass up on that? If they have a chance to draft a Jahmyr Gibbs, do they pass up on that? So those are just some of the names to kind of look at. There's going to be other running backs, obviously, besides these two guys. But I'm going to be real interested to see, do the Texans draft another running back, especially in the first two rounds, maybe the first three rounds. So we'll see. A lot can happen between then. But Jalen Hurts continues to play MVP-type ball. He had 243 yards passing, 2 scores. Shout out to Miles Sanders, having a great season, 17 carries for 93 yards and a score. Miles Sanders continues to play excellent ball. Dallas Goedert is becoming one of the better tight ends in the league. He had 8 receptions on 9 targets, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Also, A.J. Brown had a touchdown. So, I mean, they have a 3-headed monster in terms of receiving. The Eagles look really, really good offensively, defensively. Are the Eagles the best team in the NFL? Time will tell. I still think that they're beatable, but I got to give them props. The Eagles are doing amazing so far this year. We move on to the next game, and that was the LA Chargers versus the ATL Falcons. That was an interesting game. The Chargers did everything in their power to lose this game. Justin Herbert obviously didn't have his full complements of weapon, missing Mike Williams and also missing Keenan Allen for the 100th time this season. So whether Keenan Allen comes back or not, I'm not sure. But Justin Herbert had 245 yards passing, 1 score, and an interception. Austin Eckler had 47 yards rushing, a score. And I believe that Austin Eckler also had another receiving touchdown. Austin Eckler has been amazing this year. And if you have Austin Eckler in fantasy football, you're possibly winning a lot of your leagues right now. Josh Palmer finally stepped up. He was targeted 10 times, 8 receptions for 106 yards, no score. But he had a great fantasy day as well as a great day in real life. Isaiah Spiller had 7 carries for 29 yards, man. Welcome to the NFL, Isaiah Spiller. It seems like they're going to be fading Sony Michel more and more. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Chargers move forward with limited weapons. But Justin Herbert is that dude. He played well enough to propel this team to a win. As far as the Falcons, man, these guys continue to not pass the ball. They continue to not have Mariota throwing passes. He completed 12 of 23 passes for what? How many yards was it? 129 yards. Terrible. I got Hawk in the building, man. What's good, brother? Appreciate you hopping on, man. Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Yeah, Mariota throwing for 129 yards is not going to be enough to win me a lot of games. Tyler Algier, man, shout out to him, man. He had 10 carries for 99 yards. Also, Cordero Patterson came in, had 13 carries for 44 yards and 2 scores. One thing I can say about the Chargers defense is that they're the worst defense in the league when it comes to giving up yards. They give up the most yards to anybody, if I'm not mistaken. So the Chargers defense they're not good at all. They're not good at all, especially when it comes time to defend the run. Is Isaiah Spiller related to CJ Spiller? That's a great question. I'm not sure. I got to look that up. Being that both guys are running backs, they could be cousins or something like that. So I got to definitely check that out, man. Most definitely. Also, another interesting stat in this game is that Kyle Pitts, he was targeted 7 times. He caught 2, right? Drake London, 7 times, caught 3. So I feel sorry for guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Being that they traded away Calvin Ridley, I was excited with Calvin Ridley being on the team and who the new quarterback would be next year. Desmond Ridder is still here. Maybe they turn to Desmond Ridder at some point, but right now the Falcons are second place in their division, second to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's real interesting to see what happens moving forward. But yeah, the Falcons, they're not it. I mean, you might as well just go ahead and go to Desmond Ridder. One of my favorite games of the day was this Miami versus Chicago game. It was a great game, excellent game. My main man, Tua Tagovailoa, I've been a big fan of his since he came into the league, and he's finally showing out right now. He had 302 yards passing. He also had 3 passing touchdowns. Not only that, Tyreek Hill was the fastest human, one of the fastest human in the world, but the fastest human to reach 1,000 yards in the NFL. He was able to do it at this point. Hawk says the Falcons wasted a great opportunity. They did. The Falcons had the game, and then they blew it. It's just one of those things, man. So Tua has been looking for Tyreek Hill, and he's also looking for Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill right now is number 1 in the NFL with 1,100 yards receiving. He only has 3 scores, but it doesn't matter. He gets the yards. He gets the receptions. He's on pace for 2,000 yards this year, and I think he can do it. Not only that, I think that when you pass Tyreek Hill the ball, he can catch it and gain yards after the catch, and that's amazing for a wide receiver of his stature. This is not Megatron. This is not Cooper Kupp. This is Tyreek Hill, who is a smaller guy. Jeff Wilson, new addition for Miami. He had 9 carries for 51 yards, and Raheem Mostert had 9 carries. So it seems like Jeff Wilson is going to be very much involved. He also did catch a pass and score. So Jeff Wilson is very much involved. It's a guy for you guys to target in fantasy football. Jalen Waddle has been magnificent all year. He had 5 receptions for 85 yards and a score. Tyreek Hill, 7 receptions, 143 yards and a score. I mean, both guys are tearing it up. And as long as you have 2 receivers like this, everybody was saying, how's it going to work between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Tyreek Hill has said that Tua Tagovailoa is the most accurate quarterback in the league. And you got to give him that. When they run these slants and these patterns, he's putting the ball on the money, and these guys are catching the ball and doing the rest. So Tua Tagovailoa could end up leading the league in passing yards. I mean, obviously, if Tyreek Hill hits 2,000 yards this year, or if Jalen Waddle hits, he's going to hit at least 1,500 yards. So these 2 guys account for most of the yards. So I don't think Tua leads the league in passing yards this year, but he's going to be top 5 for sure if this trend continues to go up. And then you start getting more guys involved, like Raheem Mostert, Mike Gesicki. It's just so many mouths to feed on this offense to where, I mean, Tua's having fun. He's having fun right now. And then that Miami defense adding a Bradley Chubb. Obviously, Bradley Chubb could not get to Justin Fields yesterday. Let's talk about Justin Fields already. So the Bears put up 32 points. Miami put up 35 and won the game. But Justin Fields was amazing, even as a passer. 123 yards passing, not great, but he had 3 passing touchdowns. Not only that, he carried the ball 15 times for 178 yards. That was the most rushing yards ever by an NFL quarterback, and that was Justin Fields, 15 carries for 178 yards. That was magnificent. That was awesome. So it's good to see Justin Fields coming into his own. He also had a rushing touchdown as well, and he put up a lot of points in fantasy football this week. Darnell Mooney, he's starting to play better. I mean, he's being targeted a lot. He had 8 targets for 7 receptions, 43 yards. Claypool just got there, and he's still getting acclimated. I want to see what the team looks like with Claypool and Mooney as Justin Fields continues to get better. Cole Kmet did have 2 receiving touchdowns, so all is well in Chicagoland as this team continues to get better. We go ahead and move on to the Cincinnati game. Cincinnati versus the Panthers. The Cincinnati Bengals won this game 42-21. Joe Mixon did something that most men haven't done. Joe Mixon had 5 touchdowns. He caught 4 receptions for 58 yards in the receiving score. Then he was able to rush 22 times for 153 yards and 4 more additional scores, giving him 5 touchdowns. Samaje Perine also pitched in with 6 carries for 51 yards. Joe Burrow just had a decent game, which was completing 22 passes for 206 yards and a receiving score. So it wasn't about Joe Burrow today. Today was about the man, the myth, the legend, Joe Mixon, throwing up some monster points. If you had Joe Mixon in fantasy football, you most likely won your week. If you had Joe Mixon and you lost, that means your team is trash. And you need to, go ahead and get better. But shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals defense. They played well enough to contain the Panthers. Panthers were able to get some scores late. The Panthers were so bad, they had to bench P.J. Walker and bring in Baker Mayfield at the half, who ended up getting 2 scores, one to Tommy Tremble in the second to Terrence Marshall, which is a guy that we've been waiting for an explosion. So I feel sorry for DJ Moore. We was feeling that, hey, DJ Moore with PJ Walker was going to play well. But this week we're going to see ATL versus Carolina, 2 terrible teams. And one of these 2 teams are going to perform well enough to, stay in the race. I think if Carolina wins this game, they're still in the race, even with 7 losses. That's just how bad this division is. The next game I want to move to is a game that I was not excited about. It was the Lions versus the Green Bay Packers. This game right here, it was bad. It was a terrible game, and Aaron Rodgers struggled. He had 3 interceptions. When was the last time you saw Aaron Rodgers have 3 interceptions? Aaron Rodgers is a guy that keeps his interception numbers low. This could be the year that Aaron Rodgers has double-digit interceptions. I don't think he's ever had double-digit interceptions. I'm not sure. Aaron Jones got hurt. A.J. Dillon came in and really couldn't give him much of any spark. 11 carries for 34 yards. Doesn't really get it done. When Aaron Rodgers is leading your team in rushing yards, you are in trouble. So let's see what they do next week. And even moving forward, Allen Lazard is the last man standing. He had 4 receptions for 87 yards on the score. Romeo Doubs, promising rookie. He's hurt. Christian Watson, he's not ready. Toure, he's still learning. And Sammy Watkins, he's washed. So when you look at this receiving core as a group, they're struggling. They're pretty bad. And Green Bay definitely needs a lot of work to kind of make this all work. Jaire Alexander had an interception. So defense hasn't really been their problem for the most part. It's just been offense for the most part. Like, offense has been so ineffective, especially with the offensive line. So the Lions defeat the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, they now fall to 3-6. This is crazy. And yet you see some of the good teams in the NFL struggle. Guys like Green Bay and Tampa Bay. They say once you have a franchise quarterback, all is well. That's false. You need multiple components around your franchise quarterback to then gain some results. Shout out to Jared Goff. He was very, very cool. It wasn't amazing. He had 137 yards passing, 2 scores. Jamal Williams kind of steadied this team with carrying the ball 24 times for 81 yards. Swift was just used sparingly. He only had 2 carries for 10 yards, 3 receptions for 40 yards. What is going on with DeAndre Swift? Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had 9 targets, but only caught 4 for 55. So something's going on there. Something's going on with the Lions offense, but it was the Lions defense that propelled them to this win come Sunday. So shout out to the Lions. I mean, they are an inspiring team. They had a great moment after the victory. Dan Campbell talked with the rest of the team, and, all is well. Moving on to the next game, one of the most exciting games of the day was the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you look at this game, coming into the game, the Raiders really needed this win. The Raiders fell short. They lost 27-20. Derek Carr, man, it's time to start thinking that Derek Carr might not be that dude. He completed 21 passes for 259 yards and 2 scores. Josh Jacobs had a less of a good game. He had 17 carries for 67 yards. Now, Devontae Adams did have a great game, 10 receptions for 146 yards and 2 scores, but it just was not enough. This offense is missing a Darren Waller. Where has Darren Waller been? Darren Waller needs to be part of this team in order to kind of unlock what this team can actually be. Josh Jacobs has carried this team 3 out of the last 5 weeks. He's had 2, decent games. I think that he needs to be more involved in the passing game. He was targeted 3 times, caught all 3. I love when Josh Jacobs is involved in the passing game. But shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just continue to fight. They squeaked out this win. Trevor Lawrence continues to progress, 235 yards, passing, 1 score. Travis Etienne, man, 28 carries, 109 yards, and 2 scores. Travis Etienne looks great. He looks great as a runner. He looks great as a receiver. We already knew he can receive the ball, but to run the way that he's running, to play the way that he's playing. And then Christian Kirk continues to have a good season, 8 receptions for 76 yards and a score. Imagine what this team looks like next year with Calvin Ridley being added to this bunch. Calvin Ridley on one side, Christian Kirk on the other side. And I'm telling you guys, they are going to add another receiver during the draft. I don't know if it's going to be the 2nd round or the 3rd round, but I see the Jags continuing to add to the offense as well as the defense. They should be a force in the next couple of years. Moving on to the next game, it's one of the worst games of Sunday. It was the New England Patriots versus the Colts. Speaking of the Colts, breaking news, they did fire the coach, Frank Reich, today, and it just didn't work out. It didn't work out on paper. People were thinking the Colts had a Super Bowl contending team, but the minute they went for Matt Ryan and that didn't work, and then they went to Sam Ehlinger, what do you expect? You're pretty much tanking when you go to Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger, the same Sam Ehlinger who led them in rushing. It was terrible. He had 15 completions for 103 yards, led by Alec Pierce, 1 reception for 23 yards. But the Patriots won this game by defense. Mac Jones played decent, 147 yards passing, 1 score. Ramondre Stevenson was modest on the ground, 15 carries for 60 yards. But Ramondre Stevenson also added 3 receptions, 10 yards, and a score, which helped a lot of people in fantasy football. Jacoby Myers and Hunter Henry led the way with 4 and 5 receptions each for 50 and 42 yards. Not much to say about this game other than the defense played well. Shout out to Bill Belichick. He always has pretty good defenses, and the defense was able to score. They were also able to get to Sam Ehlinger 9 times. This defense had 9 sacks. Bentley had 1. Uche had 3. Judon had 3. Tavai had a half a sack. Wise had a half a sack, and all together 9 sacks by his defense. Shout out to the New England Patriots defense. They're now 5-4, and they continue to fight for a wild card spot. Who knows? They might be in that division hunt, even with the Buffalo Bills there, who just lost this week. So we look at the Buffalo Bills, possibly the best team in the NFL on paper and in real life. Josh Allen didn't do much throwing the ball, but he did have 9 carries for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. Singletary wasn't very well. Nyheim Hines possibly didn't even play much. Josh Allen had 2 interceptions on top of that, including the interception at the end of the game to Sauce Gardner, who has made this Jets defense really, really good. Do not be surprised if Sauce Gardner wins the Rookie Defensive Player of the Year, let alone the Defense Player of the Year. I think he is that good. His impact on this defense has turned everything around. Stephon Diggs was Stephon Diggs. He had 5 receptions for 93 yards. He led the team. There was literally no other person that had an impact offensively for the Bills outside of Diggs and Josh Allen running the ball. The Jets, Zach Wilson was decent, 154 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Michael Carter continues to play well in the absence of Breece Hall, 12 carries for 67 yards and a score. James Robinson pitched in with 48 yards rushing, and he also had a receiving score on the receiving side. Zach Wilson, he's decent. He's doing everything that he can. I think he's going to grow. I can see a Justin Fields type growth for Zach Wilson heading into year 3. I think year 3 might be the year that you see the best of Zach Wilson. Also, Garrett Wilson did not play well as he normally has. Garrett Wilson did play well. For some reason, his numbers are not showing up on this box score. But, yeah, he did play well, if I'm not mistaken. While I'm, looking up some stuff, I can look up Garrett Wilson because I have plenty of Garrett Wilson in fantasy football. And from what I saw production out of Garrett Wilson, which is kind of why I'm kind of confused right now. on Garrett Wilson. But yeah, I love Garrett Wilson. I love what he brings to the table. I think that Garrett Wilson's most likely going to end up being one of the best, if not the best, rookie wide receiver in this draft. I say that, but I also love what Chris Olave brings to the table. Chris Olave plays tonight, and he's most likely, the guy now with all the injuries. So I'm sorry on the box score. Garrett Wilson's numbers didn't come up, but Garrett Wilson did have 8 receptions for 92 yards. He had a great game, like I said. For some reason, it just didn't show up. It just did not show up. But, yeah, Garrett Wilson is a beast. And if I didn't watch the game, I would not be telling you guys what Jeff Wilson was able to do. Washington, man, my Commanders lost this game. It was tough. Washington lost this game 20-17. They had a lead in the fourth quarter, fourth quarter, and Green Bay scored 13 points in the fourth quarter in order to take the lead and win this game. Kirk Cousins came back to FedEx Field for the first time in a long time, and probably the first time since he left, actually. He had 265 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Justin Jefferson was amazing, 7 receptions for 115 yards and a score. Dalvin Cook also had a receiving score as well. Washington was able to kind of get after Kirk Cousins defensively. Shout out to Daron Payne. Shout out to Benjamin St-Juste, both guys getting a sack. Cameron Crowe was solid, but it was just some plays that he got beat on, which every player gets beat on a play or not. Or so. So defense was solid. Even the play at the half where Danny Johnson got the interception on Kirk Cousins, but they got to find a way to get Terry McLaurin the ball more. He was targeted 9 times, so I give him that, but he caught 5 for 56. Curtis Samuel caught 3 for 65, including that long, I think it was like a 50-something yard bomb into the end zone. He caught it and rolled into the end zone. Nobody touched him. Washington did not run the ball well. Brian Robinson had 13 carries for 44. Gibson had 11 for 36. Both guys rushed for about 3.3 yards per carry. So that's not good for Washington. They got to do better. Got to do a better job. Offensively, they're so predictable. Scott Turner does not know what he's doing, and that's why Washington can't score more than 20 points, but they do play good defense to limit, other teams from scoring. So I'll give them that. Shout out to the Seattle Seahawks. They continue to play well. They're 6-3. They continue to win. It's Geno Smith, man, 275 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Kenneth Walker, man, one of the best running backs in the NFL, just not a rookie. He's more than a rookie. He had 26 carries for 109 yards, 2 scores. Since becoming a starter, this guy has like over 400 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns. So Kenneth Walker is the real deal. We knew who he was coming in. As much as I love Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker is just as good. It's almost like the year when you had Jonathan Taylor and you had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm not comparing Breece Hall to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What I'm saying is that these are 2 really, really good running backs, and just based off of system, both guys can produce differently for this squad. Noah Fant had a great game, 5 receptions for 96 yards. Tyler Lockett, 5 receptions for 67 yards in the score. DK Metcalf, he had a score as well. And Seattle's defense continues to play lights out. Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen. These guys, Jordan Brooks, these guys are loaded. Quadre Diggs. Seattle could make some noise in the playoffs. I'm not saying they're about to win anything or do anything that's so amazing, but you just never know. You never know. This was supposed to be a rebuilding team, right? This was a team that everybody was thinking goes like 2 and whatever, right? And then you draft a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud. They might be okay. You might see Seattle go for a quarterback in the second round and just keep rocking with Geno until this thing kind of just stops. Geno's played well, and I think he fits what Seattle likes to do. Geno could leave, go somewhere else, and then be terrible. It's all about system, guys. You guys have to remember that. This is next game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Los Angeles Rams. These are 2 teams that are struggling, and I am not upset one bit. Even though the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4-5, they're first place in their division. Tom Brady led them to a comeback victory. Matthew Stafford has been so terrible, 165 yards passing. Do you know how many quarterbacks this week threw for 100 and something yards. There was a lot of quarterbacks that did not reach 200 yards. I will do those numbers later when I do my fantasy show, but it was a lot of bad quarterback play this week. And Darrell Henderson, 12 carries for 56 yards. They don't know what they want to do at running back position. Cam Akers, 5 receptions for 3 yards. Cooper Kupp, man, amazing. 8 receptions, 127 yards, touchdown, off of 9 targets. So their offense is Cooper Kupp. It's crazy. Buccaneers defense did step up big time. Tom Brady, 280 yards passing, a passing touchdown, led by Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller came out of nowhere and made some big plays in that fourth quarter on that game-winning drive. And that touchdown went to Cade Otton, a young kid who's, making a name for himself. Tampa Bay, just kind of hanging around. It's one of them things where you try to get in and then you see what happens when you get there. It's a Dig Bar. What's good, man? Appreciate you for becoming a member. One of my biggest supporters, man. Appreciate the love. New member in the house, man. Let's get it. It says, hope you're doing good, dog. Yeah, man, I'm doing a lot better. It's still tough, processing everything that has happened in the family. But, man, appreciate the love that you guys continue to give me out there, man. You guys mean a lot to me. And you guys are the reason why I do what I do, honestly. Who else? So let's talk about the Tennessee and the Kansas City game. Look, the Tennessee game, like Tennessee is one of those teams that's just so random. Last year, Tennessee had the best record in football, right? But Tennessee doesn't have the best team in football. They continue to get away with guys like Ryan Tannehill. And even yesterday, having a guy like, what's his name? Malik Willis, who was not ready. I knew what kind of game it was going to be. And to be honest, I didn't think. Hold on, y'all. Thank you. And this one right here. Thank you. So we all knew what kind of game it was going to be for the Tennessee Titans. Having a project quarterback in Malik Willis, right? There should be no reason why Malik Willis is your starting quarterback. None. Like, he shouldn't be your second string quarterback. What I'm saying is he's not good enough to be second string. It's like Washington and Sam Howell. Sam Howell is not ready for that next step. Neither is Malik Willis. Neither is Desmond Ridder. Neither is a lot of these rookie quarterbacks that were in this draft. Even Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett leads the NFL in interceptions thrown. So a lot of these guys are going to take some time. The only legit guy that's ready to go right now is Kenny Pickett. Now, Malik Willis could become something later, but for a team like Tennessee, who came into the game at 5-2 at the time, and then Kansas City was also 5-2. So I'm thinking like, okay, 2 powerhouse teams, and then Kansas City's Kansas City, right? But shout out to Tennessee. Tennessee played great defense. But Malik Willis, he threw the ball 16 times. He completed 5 passes for 80 yards. That's not going to get it done. 5 for 16 for 80 is not going to get it done out of a starting quarterback. So we already talked about quarterbacks that did not get to 200 yards passing, right? Now we're talking about a quarterback that did not get to 100 yards passing. And you expect to win an NFL game with a quarterback of this caliber. It's pretty sad. I think Tennessee should go to the third string guy in case Ryan Tannehill can't play. If Ryan Tannehill plays yesterday, even with the limited wide receiver group that Tennessee has, I think Tennessee wins the game with 1 or 2 throws made by Ryan Tannehill. Not that Ryan Tannehill is that great, but he's not as bad as Malik Willis is right now. So Malik Willis carried the ball 8 times for 40 yards. I was not impressed with his running. He was okay. He was just okay all around. Derrick Henry, 17 carries for 115 yards, 2 scores. You feed Derrick Henry 35 times. That is how Tennessee wins this game. And there was times when Tennessee was losing or were in passing situations and they had Derrick Henry on the bench. It just didn't make any sense. And he was on the bench looking mad, looking disinterested. He's kind of crazy. But Chig Okonkwo caught that one pass, ran it for 48 yards. And outside of that, they did nothing else offensively. Defense played well. McCrary had an interception. Defense was humming. Nico Autry had two sacks. Mario Edwards had a sack. Walker. I mean, they were all after Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes did some Patrick Mahomes type things. He was able to beat this team with his running. When you look at the game, you see Mahomes throwing for a lot of yards, right? Oh, you see them trying to move the ball, and then they missed field goals, and they couldn't score touchdowns. They were ineffective. Patrick Mahomes had 446 yards passing. Had he got his typical 3-touchdown game, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. So Mahomes had to do things a little differently, and he had to use his legs a lot. He carried the ball 6 times for 63 yards and a touchdown. Had that long touchdown scramble, and he was also able to get timely first downs with his legs. So Mahomes is just one of those guys that's experienced. He played great. But Travis Kelce, man, 10 receptions for 106 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster, 10 receptions for 88 yards. They like to hit those quick passes. Travis Kelce was targeted 17 times. Okay. Not only that, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball for 68 times. That's how ineffective Kansas City was running the ball. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, Hilaire, 4 carries, 5 yards. Pacheco, 5 carries, 5 yards. Jerick McKinnon, 3 carries, 4 yards. So that's part of the reason why Tennessee almost won this game. 14 yards out of your running back. You had 3 running backs, and they collectively gave you 14 yards. That is not a recipe to win games. And that's something that Kansas City has to fix. Kansas City should have traded for a guy like Kareem Hunt, but they felt that they had a competent running back. When you put these 3 guys together, that's definitely something that they need to address in the offseason. You need a running game. You can't have Patrick Mahomes carrying the ball 6 times. Like, that's not a recipe for success. And Mahomes does not like to run because of the injury factor. Mecole Hardman had 6 receptions for 79 yards in the score. So, yeah, he was able to pass the ball. And that's why they had so many yards. They got the running backs involved in the pass game. McKinnon was 6 for 40, and Hilaire with a reception. They try to get Kadarius Toney involved. They almost force-fed Kadarius Toney, and he did not give you anything worth having. So it's one of those things where they did everything that they could to lose this game, but then at the end they won this game. And if they would have lost this game at Arrowhead to a rookie, it was not going to be a good look. Hey, what's good, man. Appreciate the prayers, man. Like I said, appreciate the prayers. It's been a tough time. But it feels good to be doing streams again and to be with you guys. You guys uplift me in ways that you guys cannot even understand. So appreciate it. And also appreciate my guy, It's a Dick Bar, who became a channel member. If you guys are interested in becoming a member, just click the join member button. Appreciate that. Justin has a question. Justin says, Juju is now a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Absolutely. And Juju was a guy I was trying to trade. I was trying to trade him in fantasy, but nobody wanted him. Now I'm not so sure I want to trade him. He's going to be getting tons of targets, even with the addition of these other wide receivers. These other wide receivers make his job a lot easier moving forward. It's a Dick Bar says Mixon scored 55 points on me in both leagues Saturday yesterday. I mean, I had Mixon in one league, and it was a 6-keeper league. I took over the league, and I had Mixon. My team is so bad, but Mixon beat one of the best teams in the league, and the guy was talking about it. Oh, Mixon. I said, oh, you're the guy that Mixon scored 55 on? So it was good for me to have Mixon, and I also almost traded for Mixon. It was going to be Garrett Wilson, Brian Robinson, and a 23 third, which I thought was a hefty price, being that I didn't necessarily need Mixon. But I should have traded for Mixon because the guy that I didn't trade for ended up beating me in Dynasty. So it was tough. It was tough getting those points scored on me. And it was a 67-point performance in our league. So it was tough. Justin says, also, you think that Olave and Lamar score 22-plus fantasy points? Absolutely. I think that Lamar gets you about 20 points today. He's going to rush the ball, and he's going to get about 70 yards rushing. So 70 yards rushing for Lamar is 7 points automatically. And I think that Lamar also passes for 2 scores today. It's going to be a lower scoring game, but I definitely love what Lamar could do. And then as far as Olave could get you a 20-point night. I have Olave going in a lot of leagues. Actually just traded for Olave in Dynasty, traded a first and a second for Olave. That's how much I believe in Olave. Olave, Garrett Wilson, those are my guys. He's Ohio State boys. One of these 2 guys on my Washington Commanders. We didn't get neither one, but I'm a fan of these 2 guys forever. And these 2 guys are tearing it up right now. in fantasy. Yeah, I think that you should be safe. I think that Olave and Lamar both combined for more than 22 plus points. It's a Dig Bar writes. It says, it says I dropped 137 with Lamar left and lost. And said, and still lost. He dropped 172. Okay, so y'all scoring must be like very high. So you dropped 100. You dropped 137. I get it with Lamar left, and it's almost lost. He dropped 172. So yeah, I mean, who knows, man? Maybe Lamar gives you one of those legendary 40-point performances where he throws for 5 touchdowns and runs for 150 yards. You just never know. Man. You never know, and it's tough. It's tough, man. Needing Lamar to do what you need him to do, especially without having that support, that's going to be tough. I think that's the toughest part of the whole thing. That's the toughest part of the whole thing. But if you guys have any fantasy questions, man, hit me with it. I got 15 more minutes left on the stream. Let's have fun with this one. Let me see. Speaking of fantasy, I was looking at some stats earlier today, and there's going to be some numbers that are going to shock you guys. Did you guys know that Patrick Mahomes leads the NFL in passing yards? That's something that I wasn't thinking of. I knew that Mahomes was having a great season, but we always talk about Josh Allen this and Josh Allen that. Respectfully so, Josh Allen does a lot of things with his legs, so he gets a lot of rushing touchdowns with his legs, right? But Patrick Mahomes has 21 passing touchdowns. I want to say Mahomes leads the NFL in passing touchdowns with 21. Josh Allen has 19. And a lot of that 19 goes to Stephon Diggs. So, I mean, and then Joe Burrow slowly creeps in with 18. He's just as legit as these other two guys. Lamar Jackson hasn't played tonight. He has 15 right now. And who knows what he does tonight? He might add 3, maybe 4. But Lamar's one of those other guys that does some things with his legs. But these 4 quarterbacks this year, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar, all have 15 or more touchdowns. I'm just saying 15 or more. I think Lamar is safe to score at least one more touchdown tonight, right? But outside of that, the next guy is Geno Smith with 15 and then Tua with 15. It's amazing that Geno Smith is having this kind of season. It's just too amazing to me. It's a Dig Bar says, do you think Deshaun Jackson is going to do anything tonight in his debut? Honestly, I don't know, but we always know that Deshaun Jackson is good for one deep reception. I'm thinking, here's my prediction. Deshaun Watson, 3 receptions, 70 yards. That's just a Deshaun Jackson type night. Now, can he add a touchdown? Absolutely. But, at the age of 35, 36, I don't know how much he has left in the tank. The bad thing about Deshaun Jackson is whenever he gets those deep receptions or does those good things, he ends up getting hurt and then it's a hamstring injury. So I'm knocking on wood, hoping he plays well. But that's just Deshaun Jackson in a nutshell. He just goes deep. He's going to catch those deep passes. And Lamar definitely needs a field stretcher. It's just sad that they're bringing in one that's super old right now. But yeah, Geno Smith, Tua, these are some of the surprises so far this year. Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers are in that next tier with 14 touchdowns. And then Kirk Cousins is down there. Jalen Hurts has been solid, 12 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's an MVP candidate right now, more so because of the things that he does with his legs. Like Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Lamar, Josh Allen. These are guys that are studs, especially running. But running, when we talk about running quarterbacks, man, shout out to Justin Fields. Justin Fields is putting together a season like no other. He might end up leading the league this year he might be the quarterback that leads everybody in rushing this year. I mean, he had 178 yards rushing yesterday. And looking at his numbers, I want to see what his numbers look like in terms of running the ball. NFL Network is the worst when it comes to stats like this because how they divide it up is not it's not perfect. But Justin Fields has 91 rush attempts this year for 602 yards and 2 rushing scores. It's almost safe to say that Justin Fields rushes for 1,000 yards this year. I can make that bold prediction and say Justin Fields rushes for 1,000 yards this year. So he has about 602. I want to see where Lamar is right now when it comes to rushing. I love numbers. I love stats. I love to dig in on stats and trends, and see how people are playing, how they're playing, who they're playing. Those are some of the things I like to do in my spare time. Play with the numbers. So right now, Lamar has 75 rush attempts for 553 yards rushing. He has 2 rushing scores. I can see this number jumping tonight. I can see the Ravens like relying on Lamar more. I can also see Lamar also rush for 1,000 yards this year. I think it's going to be 2 running back quarterbacks who rush for 1,000 yards this year, and one is Lamar and one is Justin Fields. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to see. Let's see. Stats. Who else do we want to look at? So we've looked at the quarterbacks. Let's look at some interesting numbers in terms of running backs. Let's talk about how good Derrick Henry really is. Derrick Henry is a beast. Right now, he's leading the league with 870 yards rushing. It's safe to say that Derrick Henry rushes for 1,600 yards. I think that Nick Chubb is going to be right there with him. Nick Chubb is fighting and pushing hard to be the rushing leader this year. But Derrick Henry has 183 rushing attempts, right? To Nick Chubb's 149. If Nick Chubb did not have Kareem Hunt, I'm not saying that Nick Chubb would be better or worse. Having Kareem Hunt there takes away a lot of the load that goes to Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is right there in yards, and he has 10 touchdowns, 1 more touchdown than Derrick Henry. I call Nick Chubb a Derrick Henry disciple. They're about the same. They're the same mold of people. They're built a little differently. Derrick Henry is just massive, but Nick Chubb is just as strong. His frame looks different. Saquon Barkley is right there, and Josh Jacobs, ETN. Shout out to ETN, and then Dameon Pierce. So it's a lot of good running back play this year. You see Miles Sanders playing well. You see Ramondre Stevenson playing well. You see Dalvin Cook playing an okay season. Right now, Justin Fields is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Justin Fields is number 10 in rushing, but that could definitely change tonight, especially if Lamar Jackson has a big game. I can see Lamar rushing for at least 50 yards. If Lamar runs for 50 yards tonight, he will pass Justin Fields and be ahead of Justin Fields by just 1 rushing yards. So it's interesting to see Fields and Lamar in this group of guys that are, running the ball. In terms of rushing touchdowns, I talked about that briefly. Nick Chubb is at 10. Derrick Henry is at 9. Jamal Williams has 8 rushing touchdowns. These are just numbers to kind of like really look at, because sometimes we don't realize these numbers when we're doing our fantasy or when we're making our trades. So Jamal Williams definitely has standalone value. He has 8 rushing touchdowns. Kenneth Walker has 7 rushing touchdowns, and then he has a ton in the last few weeks. So he's real hot right now. Eckler does his thing running and receiving. Jalen Hurts has 6 rushing touchdowns. I think he leads all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. You would think that Josh Allen is there, but Josh Allen is a little bit at the bottom with 4 rushing touchdowns. Taysom Hill has 5. We don't know if Taysom Hill is a quarterback, if he's a tight end, if he's a gadget player. We don't really know who he is. But Cordero Patterson has 5 rushing touchdowns, and mind you, he's missed 4 games. Who knows? Cordero Patterson might be a 10 by now had he been healthy. I'm going to go over some receiving numbers, and then we're going to go ahead and end the stream. Tyreek Hill has 76 receptions, followed by Cooper Kupp, 72. Then Diggs and Eckler are both tied with 60 apiece. And I do think that Eckler hits 100 receptions this year, as well as Stephon Diggs. So all is well. Oh, look at Travis Kelce out here with 57 receptions. If you have Kelce and Eckler on your team, that's kind of what I did on my strategy in fantasy football. I went Eckler 1, then I went Kelce 2. That formula has won me a lot of my matchups in fantasy, and I am forever grateful for having these 2 guys as my 1 and 2 picks. Shout out to Curtis Samuel with 45 receptions. He's there with some of the top dogs. It's just that the yardage total is not as big as some of these other guys. Same thing with Zach Ertz, 46 receptions, but he doesn't have the yardage total that go with this amount of receptions. Who knows? Curtis Samuel could possibly end up with 90 receptions. The way that it's going this season, it's looking like about 90 receptions for Curtis Samuel this season if he stays healthy, knocking on wood. In terms of receiving yards, like I told you guys earlier, Tyreek Hill has 1,104. So 1,100 yards plus for Tyreek Hill at this point in the season. Justin Jefferson has 867. So it's a big drop-off between 1,100 and 800 and something. Stephon Diggs is there and Cooper Kupp. So those are the three that we knew coming into the season. Jefferson, Diggs, Kupp. Now you can go ahead and add of course, Tyreek Hill, of course. But then you can go ahead and add Jalen Waddle to that group. We already knew who we had and who A.J. Brown was, and then Travis Kelce doing what Travis Kelce does as a tight end. Terry McLaurin is right there. He's right there with some of the big dogs. I mean, that's big for Terry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Terry's number 10 in yards in the NFL. That's pretty impressive for a guy that doesn't get a lot of targets, for a guy that only has 38 receptions. So he has the least amount of receptions out of all these guys that are in the 609 club and above. I wouldn't just say that. So him and Ja'Marr Chase, actually. So it's amazing that he only has 38 receptions yet. He's number 10 in the NFL in yards. That's pretty impressive. In terms of receiving touchdowns, you got Devontae Adams with 7, Diggs with 7, Kelce with 7. Kelce has a chance at 15 touchdowns this year, and I actually think that Travis Kelce leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns this year. I could be totally wrong, but that's how I feel. A.J. Brown, Ja'Marr Chase. I guarantee you guys that Ja'Marr Chase is going to hit double digits, especially when he comes back healthy. He's one of those guys that can hit you with a 3-touchdown game in a blink of an eye. So that's just how special of a talent Ja'Marr Chase truly is. Eckler has four receiving touchdowns, so he's a touchdown machine. He's continuing where he left off. Jahan Dotson also has 4 touchdowns, and he's missed the last 5 or 6 games. So once he comes back and he's healthy, I'm interested to see how many touchdowns Jahan Dotson can actually get to this year. Mark Andrews, a phenomenal talent. He's going to be missing tonight's game. My prediction tonight, I think the Ravens win this game. I think Kamara has a good game, but I think overall Lamar knows what's on the line, and I think the Ravens pull out this game. Guys, this is your guy Manny. This is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. And shout out to everybody who got on the stream today. Appreciate all the love that you guys given me. Thank you guys for all the prayers and everything. And thank you guys for the new members that have joined the channel. Please like, please share, and I'm going to catch you guys on that next stream. I'm out. Peace.